Hi there. Welcome back to my channel and my podcast. My name is Cynthia, and this is a podcast I started recently to give me a place to do mirror scrying with my Obsidian mirror and to share some of what I see. I feel like it's something that I hope can be of use to some folks who are into this type of visual archetypal work, which is how it comes into being for me anyways. And so I've been so far planning these based on the moon cycles, and this is a new moon in Pisces. When I went and sat earlier for this particular session of gazing, and a lot of oceanic imagery came out right away, which I think is really beautiful, and I didn't put together until just now, which makes sense for a new moon in Pisces. Very deep waters that came through. Actually, one of the first images that came through. So I'm just going to go ahead and start to describe that. So the first thing I saw when I went into the gaze was an iguana. And it was an emphasis on the face of the iguana and kind of the spiny characteristics of an iguana, and some of the imagery being emphasized as prehistoric, right? And so it was showing me that in kind of a beautiful ancient visual image of this face of the iguana. And then that kind of morphed into what looked initially like a very large grouper fish, with the jaw being really prominent, like is in many, when you see a grouper, their mouth is a huge emphasis of their facial characteristics and makeup. And then the grouper shifted into a dolphin fish, and dolphin fish are silver fish, long, large, with very large heads that swim in schools. And I particularly happen to have a story associated with dolphin fish that I felt moved to share because I think it has relevance and why I saw dolphin fish. And it's a story of a man who survived lost at sea in a raft. And it's interesting because the last mirror gaze session I did, Jonah and the whale came through as an image, and now here again is a similar theme that seems to be woven through from this last quarter moon into this new moon in Pisces. So he had been, I can't remember now the duration that he had already been lost at sea, but it was a long time. It was, I think, weeks, and he really faced a lot, as you can imagine, in that time, and his own death on multiple levels, and so at some point near the very end, when he really was on the verge of death before being rescued, the school of dolphin fish showed up and essentially stayed with him and visited him and made a lot of really what he describes as powerful eye contact. And he very much acknowledges that he was verging in and out of delirium and whatnot at this time, but he describes the experience as incredibly profound and reaching him on this soul level through like some type of cognition, like a cognitive experience, or maybe like a web of life experience that he shared with these dolphin fish. And he really had this immense gratitude for them and felt that they came and played a critical role in his survival and keeping him emotionally going in a time when he was ready to die. He was ready to just surrender at that point. And I think it was really within like the next 10 hours that he was rescued. And so that's something about that story has meaning. And part of what was being emphasized to me in seeing because then the dolphin fish became a viper fish, which if you look those up, those are very deep ocean fish. They're very intense looking. They have really prominent lower jaws with teeth, I believe, and they're a deep ocean creature. So that eye of that viper fish and the dolphin fish, and then the eye of a halibut, which if I'm picturing it right, if I'm remembering correctly, a halibut's eye is on the side in this kind of interesting way that is almost cubist, like a Picasso would draw a fish or something, right? So the eye of these fish was gazing back at me through the mirror, and that's something that I felt like it was being emphasized, was like my gaze into this mirror, I was being gazed back at by these deep ocean fish. Then things shifted into foundational cracks and crevasses in stone. And so it kind of, again, went to almost like showing me, or what it feeling, almost like I've never had this procedure done, but there was this trend in the 90s called Rolfing, and I don't know if people still have it done, but it's like this intense body work that can be kind of painful, but shifts you in kind of profound ways, where people will describe having like flashbacks in time and things like that when they're having this body manipulation done called Rolfing. And it's almost like it was showing me that, like, these foundational large crevasses in the crust of the earth, and then the continental plates, and then skeletal bones and cracking and shifting, like shifting plates almost, or cracks in the deepest parts of the foundations. Then I didn't see anything for a little bit. I kind of just sat and stared more and didn't really see anything for a little while, and I almost quit and closed the mirror. But then all of a sudden an owl in flight came through, almost as if it was flying directly at me, so gliding, not flying, not flapping its wings, it was gliding. And it was an owl, and that image stayed for a long time, so I felt like it was meant to be prominently emphasized, that owl gliding in flight towards us. The next thing was a very deeply emphasized sperm, with the egg being the mirror, being the obsidian mirror. And at the point that I was gazing at it, the mirror was reflecting pure white like clouds. And then the sperm penetrating the clouds was very, very vivid. So there has something to do with fertilization or penetration. As I was reflecting on it after the fact, the lingam came to mind, which is a tantric meditative symbol, or a phallus, right? So something about the sperm is what was being emphasized in fertilization, and it was incredibly water-based, right? Again, because sperm swim through fluid. So there was some water-based sperm imagery and penetration and tantra around that, and the lingam. The reading started to wrap up, and I was looking at like a prehistoric bird in flight. So it's almost like it was unifying the present day bird I saw of the owl with the iguana and the dolphin fish, and something coming through that prehistoric bird in flight, meaning like evolution. And then right as I was sort of having that thought in my mind, I almost dropped my mirror. And it was very startling, and that's how the gaze ended. I figured that was good enough for me, so I went ahead and closed the mirror and put it away. I didn't want to risk breaking my mirror, but it felt like I should mention that that's how that gaze ended. And the rain just kind of kicked in, and I have a tin roof, so you can hear the rain in this recording. So now I'm just going to pull a couple cards, and then we'll close this new moon in Pisces mirror, obsidian mirror gazing session. So lots of oceanic, deep water, prehistory almost coming through. What else? What are some words that can be tied to these images? Find and be with your loyal and devoted community of support. Heartbeat. Keep the torch lit. And then I'll pull. And that was something, keep the torch lit seems to be speaking directly to the viperfish I saw, because it had the capacity, like a lot of deep ocean creatures, to have that iridescence or that phosphorescent glow that they can take on in the deep ocean in total darkness, right? So keep the torch lit has something to do about that fish coming from the depths of the ocean with its light to the gaze that I did. There's something about that. And also about heartbeats. So this might be some type of connection. Some cellular connection to the planet, because we get at times removed from our connection to it, right? Or feel that it's other, that nature and the planet are outside of us when we are of it. We are of the planet, right? And those base minerals seem to be coming up again as those crevasses and foundational cracks. So just a couple tarot cards here, and then I'll close this out for us. Wow, beautiful. So 2 archetypes here, and I did a reading on my tarot portion here of the videos that is called A Union of 2 Warriors. I believe you might want to scroll back and see that if you're interested, but these 2 knights are coming here through here like they did in that reading, and it's really beautiful. So the tarot cards that bring this together and what will close out this session is the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Cups, which are 2 warrior energies of fire and water coming together. This is, I think, can definitely speak to those crevasse and foundational cracks and tectonic continental plates, right? Something about fire and water coming together in that way, or that you would imagine a volcano boiling up under the ocean, and how it immediately meets the water and what that does to the climate there. Or I was fortunate one time to be on the big island of Hawaii and get to watch the lava flow go directly into the ocean, and it was one of the most spectacular, moving, incredible things I've ever seen. And so this is what to me is speaking to that heartbeat word and the keeping the torch lit, finding your community of support, finding our connection with those incredibly powerful elemental energies and the warriors within ourselves, the Knight of Wands being the fire element and the Knight of Cups being the water element, and bringing those into a balance in the physical world, because the final card is the 6 of Pentacles, which means a redistribution of physical energy on the physical plane, on the earth plane, which is being represented here by those foundational plates and rocks and crust, right? Coming into a balance. So I hope those images and archetypes have meaning for you in some way, or that bring you some sort of peace or intrigue into your day whenever this message finds you. And I'm sending you respect and love, and thank you for listening. I really appreciate you being here. And I'll be posting more on this podcast about even maybe other methods of scrying through ink. I'm also interested, and I use ink in kind of some magical ways, and making inks. And also I'd like to incorporate some dream work. I've been fascinated with dream interpretation since I was a kid, and I've kept a dream journal off and on throughout my life. I love Jungian archetypes and dream analysis, so I'd like to figure out a way to work that in. If you have ideas, leave them in the comments. I'm thinking about just pulling cards one day, setting an intention that somebody's dream that they're trying to understand come through, and that maybe they'll find the reading and it will have meaning for them. I don't know, though. That seems a little looser than I'd like. So we'll see. But like I said, thank you for being here, and happy new moon in Pisces.